Tallahassee's highest ratings. On the tag and share. Let's get everybody in. We got an exciting show today. I promise you, it's going to be one that you don't want to miss. So let's get everybody in. Joining us today, we got the amazing people from the Leon County Property Appraiser's Office. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. But go ahead on tag share. Let's get everybody in because it's going to be an exciting show on today. As a matter of fact, we're excited about the month of February. Happy Black History Month to everyone. Go ahead on and tag share. Get everybody in. I want you to go ahead on and welcome and say good afternoon to all of you that's tuned in. Get everybody in on today. Let's get everybody going. It's time to wake up. Want to say good afternoon and once again, welcome to, that's right, it's the Greg James Community Show right here over Hallelujah 95.3 FM. Listen, I'm excited about what's going on today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the show. It's going to be a very informative one, so I want you to get your papers, your pens. I want you to get everything out to take the necessary notes that you need because guess what? We have in the house, it's none other than the property appraiser himself. He's here along with some of his wonderful staff. And this show is going to be hosted today by none other than the conscious chick, Miss Christy Henry. So they're going to be joining us in just a few minutes. But let me just give you some things that are going on the new Greg James Community Show. Certainly, we're excited about the guests that are going to be appearing. But what I'm excited about is the new co-host that's going to be joining me week after week. And each week is going to be a different co-host with a different guest talking about different topics. I'm excited about Attorney Mataki Akbar, who's going to be one of our co-hosts. He's going to be talking about community. He's going to be talking about community engagement. He's going to be talking about some of the things that we need to do. And then he's going to be having a platform of a variety of guests that's going to be joining him. Also, is excited about none other than my man, Kurt Bender. Kurt Bender was a candidate for House Seat District 8. And he is a entrepreneur, mentor. And Kurt is going to be talking about some of the political views. And it's going to be called The Bender's Way. He's going to be sharing ideas, concepts, and he's going to have a plethora of guests that's going to be joining him to share their views, their opinions. It's going to be an amazing time on The Bender Way. And then there is this attorney lobbyist, Jared Willis. He's going to be talking about politics, people, and purpose. He's going to be giving insight along with his guests. So the Greg James Community Show has brought in various co-hosts to provide our audience with information, with encouragement, with engagement that's going to keep us informed on what's going on all facets, on a national level, on a state level, even city and county level. I mean, we're going to be talking about what's happening in the White House, what happens in the legislative house, what happens in the courthouse. And guess what? We're going to be knocking on your door to talk about what's happening in your house. Our community engagement is a piece that I'm excited about because we've got to get our community engaged so that our community can be involved. And if we're going to save ourselves, then we ourselves must take an active role in participating in how we engage with law enforcement, how we engage with elected officials, how we engage with each other, and how do we bring awareness to what's happening within our community. So listen, it's going to be exciting from now until the end of 2024. It's a major election year. It's a major time that we got to get the vote out. It's a major time to inform our voters, and it's a major time to get new voters involved, because if ever before, this is a time that all of us have to be engaged. So listen, I'm excited about the Greg James Community Show. I'm excited about what's happening. I'm excited about the co-hosts, and guess what? It's all done to bring more volume to voices that matter in our village. Listen, I want to invite you to something that's going to be happening this Sunday morning at 9:50. And that's going to be happening over at the Life Church International Center. And at 9:50, it's going to be our Big Give Sunday. And I want to invite all of you, if you're not doing anything, to join us at 9:50 a.m. for the Big Give Sunday. And I look forward to seeing all of you engaging with us at Life Church. We're located 4409 Bluntstown Highway. And so that's 9:50. In now is none other than the Conscious Chick. How are you?
Listen, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but 2024 has come in with violence. It has been. She ain't gonna rifle. Like, when does it slow down?
It does not. Can you believe that we are already approaching Valentine's Day?
Yes. Yeah, it feels like it should be more time with all the crap all the stuff that has happened. It's just a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And you know what? Today is a day that you got a very informative show.
Very.
And I'm excited about it. And certainly it's the Conscious Chick. She's getting ready to make things happen right here on Hallelujah 95.3 FM. So listen, the property appraiser's office is in the house.
In the house, and literally and figuratively.
In the house. In the house. Well, listen, I'm going to take a station break. I'm going to get ready to open the door. We're going to bring the property appraiser in, Mr. Hakeem and his team.
Yes.
And I'm going to let y'all go at it, because I know you're about to inform, inspire, and engage.
Okay, we do all that.
All of it. Get ready. Keep it locked right here, 95.3. It's the Conscious Chick. She's getting ready to tell you what you got to do when she talk with those who know what you need to do when it comes to your taxes.
Yes.
So get ready to do it.
Yes.
Let's keep it right here. Show 95.3 FM. Let's go.
Keep it locked. Hey y'all, if you're staying tuned, go ahead and tag and share. This is going to be some great information today. If you own a home, it's going to be great information. If you rent a home, it's going to be great information. If you trying to buy a home, it's going to be great information. The word in the room, our team, our crackerjack team over at the Leon County Property, our Leon County Property Appraisal Office. You know, I feel some kind of way saying our Leon County Property Appraisals Office. Yes, sir. But see, I know that Brother King likes that ownership, so I'm gonna keep that moving. Keep it moving. So if you're here on online, first of all, ask your questions. This is where to ask. If you have questions about exemption, how to get your property exempt. If you have questions about legal issues, this ain't the call. All right. But if you have questions about your valuation, not valuation, but if you have questions about the programs, if you have questions about how your house is assessed for exemption, what you have to do to qualify for exemption, please make sure that you tag and share that. Somebody needs to know this. We all know that there are people who don't get exemptions. They get tax burden unnecessarily. And we're going to talk through that in a minute. So definitely share this information. Hey, y'all, thank y'all for coming through. Thank y'all for tuning in. Tag and share. It's going to be a very powerful show here. Y'all doing all right?
It's property tax season. We're staying here.
We on? All right. Okay, we got it on. All right. Hey, y'all, if you're hearing the sound of my voice, you know I am not Greg James, right? But Pastor James is in the house directing and doing all the things that he does to support the community show here. I am Christy Henry, and I am so glad to be with you today. We have an excellent show for you today, and timely, because this is like our annual. I feel like this is our annual gathering, right? Because this time last year we were coming together to talk about the work and the way and the opportunities available as a part of the service of our Leon County Property Appraisals Office. Talk to us a little bit, because last year I think we kind of established a little bit who you are, but I want for you to stay, Dr. Akinyemi, everybody knows who you are, right? But do they know who you are in this vein? People.
Good afternoon, dear listening audience.
Yes.
Good afternoon, my dear friend, sister,
Yes.
Mr. Henry. I am your elected property appraiser. I'm honored to be serving in that role for 7 years now. I do have with me two of my best in my office. Our director of public relations, Mr. Andy Janisek, and our director of exemption and customer service, Ms. Megan Polsky. We are going to take time here to kind of share this, but to answer your question, our primary job is to locate every single personal property in Leon County and make sure they are on the tax roll, and that we determine the most accurate value of that property for taxing purposes. Our primary goal is not for sales of a bank, which is a whole different dynamics, is solely to be able to determine how much the government needs to check that property. In addition to doing that, and which is why we're here the entire of this month, the state has given citizens a lot of ways to save money.
Right.
And it's our job this month to let most people know about that, because the deadline to do that is upon us, which is March 1st.
March 1st. He said it, March 1st. So the people in the audience, y'all tell you, March 1st. If you don't do it by March 1st, trust me, if you don't do it by March 1st, you're going to have to wait till next year, all right? And what does that mean when I say you're going to have to wait till next year? What does that mean when I say that?
So, there's very valuable property tax exemptions that are in Florida law and offered here in Leon County to help people save on their taxes. Values are up. I think everyone knows that. And so if you got a tax bill in the mail last year that surprised you or was a little too high, you want to make sure that you're claiming all of those exemptions and save you money. In my role as the public relations director, I get to get out in the community and educate taxpayers all the time about the services of our office and the ways that they can save. And I can't tell you, there are so many folks who don't realize, a lot of folks have heard about homestead exemption, which is great. It allows you to save on your primary residence. But there's other exemptions for veterans with disabilities, people with disabilities, seniors, unlimited incomes. There's so many other ways that you can save. So it's really worth it, check, make sure, call us, visit our website, make sure that you're claiming all the savings that you're eligible for. If not, you're leaving money on the table that could go to other things. So it's really important that people pay attention to that. Just because you may have claimed everything a few years ago, it's always worth it to double check with us. Rules change, laws get passed. And that's really the root of this campaign. The reason we work so hard to get the message out is so people know about those savings.
Now, let's break it down even further. We get that little notice in the mail. It says, ooh, my house is worth this much. And then it says, ooh, this is how much they're going to base my taxes on in terms of the value. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, I think you're speaking to the proposed tax notice, also known as your trim notice.
That's right.
It stands for truth and millage. And that's a really important piece of official correspondence that our office sends every August. And it's going to have a breakdown of your valuation last year and this year. It's going to have your proposed tax rates on it. It's going to have exemption information on it. So for any exemptions that are valid or approved for the year, those should be listed on your notice.
That's right.
If you have homestead exemption and you've accrued some kind of savings with that in place, that should also be reflected on your notice as Save Our Homes. And then if you happen to be outside of city limits where you might have some additional assessments for things like stormwater and solid waste, those may also be on the notice for you to review and be aware of. And this is all ahead of the tax bill being issued.
That's right.
Which happens after we certify the tax roll, and that's in October. And then the billing occurs in November through Doris Momoy, the tax collector.
So 2 things I want to make sure our audience heard you say, right? The first thing is that they get this notice in August, okay? August.
Correct.
Very important, right?
Yes.
So you have from August until March 1st to look at that notice to say, do I have any exemptions? on there, it either lists your exemptions or it says no, right?
It will be void or blank.
It'll be blank. It won't say nothing, right? So I think that's important because people, you go to closing on a house, you live in this house, you automatically qualify if you are a homeowner and you live in the property, you qualify for homestead exemption. I've been at the closing table. I've heard the attorney, shout out to Frank Shaw and all the folks out there. They press the folk, look, we can't file this for you. Right. You have to do this, but you qualify for this, right? So August, they get the notice, you certify it, then it's certified in October, right? Because the property appraiser's office is a county office serving this county, but it's actually a state office. It's actually a state chartered, mandated agency of the state that serves Leon County, right? And so there has to be certification to the assessments that you all do. And then once you go through all those months and you certified it, you've given us until March 1st to say, oh, I own this house. I qualify for this $25,000 off the $200,000 that my house has been valued at. And if I'm a veteran, if I'm a senior, if I'm right-handed, no, that's not it.
Exemptions go every year. Who likes to make sure.
And there's some now that are being reviewed, some additional exemptions, right? Because people love to give that. And what do you think about that?
Trip notice could be overwhelming.
Yes.
It's very, very crowded. We have tried over time
Okay.
to break it down by color coding, by trying to explain two things.
Okay.
And one thing, as a former commissioner who was the chair of the VAB board for 3 years,
Yes.
is to really emphasize the VAB process. In addition to, like you said, being told what the breakdown of your trip notices are, there's a process called value adjustment board,
Okay.
where if you don't agree with our value, you have the right to go before that board. Most people don't try to advertise that because why would you want to bring my work to yourself, right?
That's right.
But on our form, at the very, very top, is a date that says if you disagree with these values, please file for VAB by this date.
Yes.
Usually September 11th or 12th or 15th.
Yes.
If about 2 or 3 weeks after you got your trip notice, will give you enough time. That is filed with the clerk of court. But there's also a link on our website where you can do that. So we want people to be aware and avail themselves of that opportunity. But I always tell people, before you even do that, just call us.
Right.
You can call us, come back, we can resolve this thing without having to go through VAB.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't like what we do, you still have the right to go through VAB. So that is one important thing to know about the trip notice. Also, the trip notice has so many information. The only thing that's coming from us is the values.
Okay.
Okay, that's the only thing that we control, we determine. But guess what? There's also your millage rates.
That's right.
We don't control. That's the commissioner that does that.
Right.
We put on that form the date they're going to be meeting to adopt this millage. If you don't like it, you go before that meeting and take your 3 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and let them know about it. Also, Megan mentioned if you're in the outlining area and you have maybe septic tank assessment or other assessment, what we do is called ad valorem.
Right.
Ad value. There are other non-ad valorem assessment. We just simply put them down that form as a convenient. We don't control that. We don't determine that. So when you see those numbers, those information, say, wow, 5 services fee. Why do you have to pay that? You have to call the proper department.
Right.
And we have all those numbers listed. So the form could be a lot of information.
Yes.
But we try our best, since I've been here, and from my knowledge, to really go out of our way to tell people to explain this form. We have your trip notice explained on our website. Of course, with past, that was like August, September. No, now we have to talk about exemption. So you may not find it very easily, but it's still there if you start, So yeah, thank you for the opportunity today to be able to be here for a whole hour telling people about this, because we do want people to save money. We truly want people to not pay any more than they should be paying in taxes.
Add to that is that trim notice, proposed tax notice period, when you receive that, that's the time to ask questions.
That's right.
If you have questions, reach out to us, call us, email, walk in the office. We are super accessible, informal consultation all the time, whether it's valuation or exemptions. We want you to reach out.
So what Megan just said is don't call them February 29th. Trying to work stuff out, all right? Don't do that. Today is the day, all right, for you to call and get some information. So I want to just kind of just talk through this because this is fascinating. Of course, I'm a market nerd, right? I work in the real estate market. That's like my real job, right? The community stuff is also a job. Have mercy. However, two things happen, right? First thing, the valuation that you see on your trim notice may not be your market real estate valuation you get from a broker or you get from an appraiser. You have appraisers in your office that work in concert, but you break down value a little bit differently than the market does. Can you talk about that? Because you don't see full value on that notice. What do you see?
Sure. So it's really two different methodologies at play.
Okay.
Someone who's doing real estate appraisal, that's a one-off appraisal. They are focused on one property that they've been hired to come out and appraise.
Right.
We've got over 100,000 parcels in Leon County that all have to be assessed every year. So it'd be very difficult to be doing a one-off appraisal on every single one. So our appraisers use a process known as mass appraisal. It's a different methodology, and that is focused on determining value for tax purposes, which is completely different than what a fee appraisal or a real estate appraiser might do. Totally different methodology, and we're trying to come up with two different numbers.
Right.
In our case, it's for purposes of determining, values for tax purposes.
That's right. That's right.
Totally different. And I'm glad too, at the start of the segment, you reiterated that March 1 deadline, because people don't realize this is a process that goes on all year.
That's right.
Our process starts on January 1. That's when we're assessing the status or condition of your property as of January 1 each year. So, if you just got a tax bill back in November and you notice that there was an exemption that you qualify for that you didn't receive, well, at that point, it's too late. That tax bill's done. So it's so important that now you get in touch with us before that March 1 deadline. Make sure you've got the information in our office that's needed to claim those exemptions so that when you get that tax bill later this year, you're receiving that benefit. It's crucial, yeah.
That's common terminology in the evaluation process is called ratio. You often hear 0.85.
Right.
I've had people thought that was mandated state requirement. It is not. It's only a rule of thumb.
Right.
As an architect, when I used to do work, I go to the website to get information. First thing I do is I divide the market value by the assessed over market.
Yes.
So if a house typically in market would be, $100,000, I will expect that on property appraisal side will be about 85,000, meaning about 0.85. It is not a mandate. It is not always. It could be 0.9. It could be 0.65 in some cases. Also, too, it's not only the differential between our methods, which we try to be very more conservative, more, I would say, on the lower end for safety's sake. People doesn't say, hey, you are over-assessing me. I suppose somebody who's trying to get a loan is going to assess a house more on a high end so they can get a bigger loan. So you see that differential. In addition to that, then, the actual portion of your money actually taxed is even lower.
Yeah.
Not just because of your homestead, also because of your silver home savings, because of the cap.
Yeah.
Over the years, that really limit how much your property can rise. So you save up what they call portability savings that you could then carry to another house when you move. Again, Megan and Andy can get to the details of that. So there are just so many moving numbers.
That's right.
And the best way we can really help you is if you call us or if you hit our website. All these explanations, we have this called frequently asked questions.
Yes.
If you click on that, you see a bunch of questions and the answer. That also will help you to go through that. If that is still not helpful, you can call us. I'll be glad to explain this.
I think that is so important what you all of it is important, but I think that people need to understand when they're looking at their bills.
Yes.
First of all, that 0.85 is a good rule of thumb for people who just bought a house in 2023. It ain't for somebody that's been living in their house since 2000, right? Because guess what? Your taxes have been limited in terms of their escalation by that 3% cap, right? Every year, people, if you're listening, if you bought your house at $75,000, they can only increase your bill year by year by 3% of what the current value is or what the assessed value has been. So that 75 plus 3%, that's as high as they can go per year over year, okay? And that's to save our home. So that's why what Dr. Akinyemi just said, you don't want to use that assessed value because it's different for everyone, because everyone's portability savings is different. But the awesome piece of this is that if you were to buy a new home, you can take the difference between your assessed value and what your cap value is and actually port it to a new house. Just get see, I'm preaching to y'all today. Listen to y'all today. Y'all got to hear what's being said. I mean, you know, it seems that the legislature, in its attempt to really sweeten the pot as it relates to home ownership, they really like exemption. They really like homestead exemption.
Every year there's a good bit of discussion as it relates to property tax exemptions, whether it's a tweak to the criteria for an existing exemption or a brand new one altogether. This year, for example, there's a bill on the table that has to do with totally and permanently disabled individuals, specifically those that are quadriplegic. This is an exemption that we administer. Right now, it doesn't allow for a surviving spouse carryover. So when that individual passes, the exemption needs to be removed. However, this bill that's out there, and Dr. Akinyemi is a leader on this bill, it's going to allow for that. So if it passes, we'll be able to carry that over to the surviving spouse who has sacrificed so much caring for their loved one. They'll be able to continue to benefit from that. And that's something that our office is responsible for handling.
Wow. So that lends back. That's why I love that this is like an annual conversation. I need to go back to like last year because I remember you talking about trying to get this additional tweak or this additional add to this particular. And so that goes and speaks, you know, usually the character of the property appraiser has been pretty standard, right? It's been pretty consistent with it's been pretty black and white. But now you have a little bit of an advocate appraiser in the house. I mean, I'm just
Wow. Are definitely fair advocates. That's really what we focused on. And we really make it easy. So we've talked a lot about calling us or go to our website. In February, as that March 1 deadline approaches, we're making it even easier for you. We have over 20 community events throughout Leon County where our staff will be, yes, over 20. They're all listed on the website, leonpa.gov. We have all over town. All it takes, you show up to one of these events. If you need to claim your homestead savings, you bring your driver's license, you bring your social security number, you bring a vehicle tag or voter registration card. And that's all it takes. We'll get you signed up at over 20 locations throughout town. So we're coming to you. I mean, yesterday we were out at Pedrick Road at the East Side Branch Library. Right. We're going to be at the Jane Sauls out in Fort Brady on February 13th. Oh, good. We'll be on the Northeast side on the 20th. We're going to be South Side, Dr. D.L. Perry Library on the 22nd. And then our library tour wraps up in Lake Jackson on the 28th. But it doesn't even stop there. I mean, we are at senior events, at veterans events, at community events all over town throughout the month of February. So it's really never been easier.
I mean, you really are everywhere. But you know, I consider myself a pretty community engaged person. But 20 events, it's only 20 days left. I mean, we're not weekend. So listen, what this speaks to is the importance, right? It also speaks to accessibility. Absolutely. Because our community is, you know, in this burgeoning, I could say burgeoning, technological age, much of what has to happen is technology driven. And so the fact that you understand that we have a skewed age community that are on this side of age and then on this side. They want to talk to somebody. They want to say, "Look, this is advocacy, right?" Because you're right. In our community, our elders, our more seasoned citizens, they want to look at you. They want to touch you, you know. And so I think the response here is it's always, I've always said it was unprecedented, but I think even more so now because you do have people, especially with the cost of living rising, especially with the cost burden of housing. Right? Let's just kind of talk about it, right? it makes it necessary to make sure that at least this segment of ownership that has this benefit is saturated with opportunity to get these savings, which translate to some folks actually the ability to save their home. Because I unfortunately have been on the end where people have lost homes due to tax foreclosure, due to the inability to afford their taxes. Can you speak to some of the feedback that you've gotten from residents as you journeyed on through this campaign?
Well, I'll say one that I hear a lot, and I appreciate that you mentioned when the bill comes, look at the bill, make sure you understand it, and if you don't ask questions. When I'm out in the community, I hear a lot that people say, oh, well, you know what? My mortgage company takes care of my property taxes for me,
Right.
and my home insurance, they take care of that for me, so I don't really pay attention. Well, that can be problematic
Yep.
because values are up. We also hear that home insurance rates are
Oh,
sky high.
crazy.
So
Yes.
if you have an escrow account, which is kind of like a little savings account that your mortgage company maintains for you, and every month a little bit of your mortgage payment goes into that savings account
Right.
so that they can then pay your property taxes for you and your homeowner's insurance. Well, what happens sometimes is at the end of the year when those bills come due, your mortgage company realizes you don't have enough,
Wow.
which means next year they're going to raise your monthly mortgage payment because they need to be able to get a little bit more into your escrow account to cover those rising
That's
costs.
right.
And that can be a burden.
Mhm.
So if you kind of have it on the set it and forget it mode, and you're like, well, my mortgage company's taking care of it, I don't need to pay attention, you could find yourself in trouble because as those rates go up and values go up and tax bills go up, you're going to have to deal with that shortage in your escrow account. So you should definitely still be paying attention.
Absolutely. Ooh, that was so good. That was so good because that happens. It happens over and over again. And then with people who have paid their mortgage off, who pay their tax bills every year, they're usually living on a fixed budget, right? So it's really important that as these additional exemptions occur and as the cost of as the value rises, that they argue value with this value adjustment board, which is another venue of advocacy. When we come back from our break here, before we go to the break, I want to get a little bit into the value adjustment board. But when we come back from our break in a few minutes, I really want to touch down on kind of what's next here locally. You manage, I mean, we're assessing hundreds of thousands of properties, right? Over 100,000 properties. It represents over 500 million in revenue, possibly even more than that this year. Y'all can correct me on that number. I really want to give people an idea of why the function of this office is so essential, particularly after Live Local has passed. And we'll get into that in a minute. But talk a little bit about the advocacy and who is the Value Adjustment Board and how can people begin the advocacy process there if they need to. So we'll take a little break quickly and then we'll come back shortly and we'll continue our conversation. If you're listening in, this is the Greg James Community Show. We are talking with our peeps from the Leon County Property Appraiser's Office. We will be back momentarily. Look at some of these questions. Good. Okay, proposed taxes done it. That's right. Certified. That's right. Hey, Miss Marvin. Hey, Miss Shirley. You taking the notes today. You the official note taker for the Greg James Community Show. Hold on. Thank you. Let's see. We'll go up here and see what other questions we have. Oh yeah, she got all of them. We're gonna have to give her some.
I see that question. You have the owner. It's got to be the primary residence. The owner's got to be.
That's right. Let's see, March deadline. Oh, that's how you do it. Okay. Okay, some of the mics are breaking up. Let's make sure we're in the microphones. Thank you for that. Good afternoon, Mr. Pittman. Good afternoon, Miss James. Good afternoon, Miss Simmons. All right, keep those questions coming and please tag and share. We'll try to answer them as we continue our conversation here. Woo! 100,000 property.
Oh.
Does it increase from year over year? Okay.
You can tumble. Sometimes it goes down. You combine 3 or 4 possible parcels, the number goes down. So it's always been around 12,000 to 110,000 since I've been here.
All right. If you are tuned in, you are listening to the hottest community show in Tallahassee, Florida on 95.3 93.5 FM. Oh, sorry, I always get that mixed up. 95.3 FM, the highest hallelujah that you can give in the county. Here today, we're talking to our peeps from the Leon County Property Appraiser. Our property appraiser, Dr. Akin Akinyemi, is here with his team. Andy Janicek, who is the GOAT of PR and outreach for the property appraiser's office, and Megan, who is our certified expert on exemptions, all right, here in Leon County. So we are just so pleased to have legitimate and reputable and knowledgeable staff here to answer all of our questions. If you just got here, I'm Christy Henry. I am not Greg James, but he missed y'all. He'll see y'all next week. We are talking property taxes. We're talking property homestead exemption for homeowners, but overall just trying to help citizens navigate our local system as it relates to property valuation. This agency has just gone over and beyond. I mean, if you aren't filing your homestead, you are really trying to not file it, all right? Because they got 20 events just this month. There's only 20 days left in the month, right? So Team No Sleep is in effect. But we really want to talk today to make sure that residents know that March 1st is the deadline. The deadline to file for your 2024 tax exemption. And that means that rolls into your 2024 assessment that will be mailed to you in August. Correct me, make sure I'm on track with that.
Proposed taxes, no, yes,
Proposed, and then we got our certified that comes out in
October.
okay, and that bill is going to state to you what the basis of your taxes will be as it relates to the stuff that they don't control. Millage, ad valorem, the Brooklyn, the Bank of the Candy, they control the valuation, okay? So we are definitely want to make sure that the community understands exactly what the role of the property appraiser's office is and ways that citizens can be empowered to ensure that they're being properly evaluated, that their value is being assessed correctly, and most importantly, that they maintain affordability in the property that they own here as residents and neighbors. Did I say that right?
Gary,
Did I say enough?
Yes.
Okay, y'all get ready to listen. I listen effectively. So we went to the break, and the first thing that I wanted to make sure that people understood, we touched on it prior to, is that if they do get this notice and they say, that's too high. You know, I don't think anybody say, that's too low, right? But if they say, this valuation is too high, let's talk about what the process is for them to advocate for a reassessment of. Okay.
Fine, do it.
And what's the VAB?
Value adjustment.
Okay, all right.
You ask about the value of our office and importance to the county commission and their revenue source.
Yes.
And money is talk louder than words, right? So since you ask, I figure I'll give it to you in person. You know,
Wow.
Florida is a state that does not have income tax, right?
Right.
We all know that, and because of that, the primary way local government function is through property tax. This graph show you that almost 56% of the money that's raised by Leon County for their services come from our office evaluation.
Wow.
So this is a very, very important, very, very detailed process that is year round. We work this process non-stop. So I wanted to kind of just illustrate that this is not money. I'm not giving them money.
Well, it is money, but it represents money.
Money.
So wow.
So it's important to understand that underlying seriousness of our work, how seriously we take what we do, and how we have this chart that shows these cycles that's year round. Our work, I mean, right now, of course, obviously, February is the business for exemptions.
Mm-hmm.
In September and August is the business for trim and VAB.
Right.
So that's going to segue me now to go into VAB. Like I mentioned, when you get your trim notice, that's going to be a little small note that gives you a deadline to apply for VAB. When I was a county commissioner, I was part of that process because the VAB is set up as a quasi-judicial body to listen to complaints. It consists of 2 Leon County Commission members, 1 school board member, and 2 citizens. These 5 people listens and they're arbitrators, because when you file for VAB, the first process you go to is essentially a magistrate.
Right.
The magistrate acts as the person that listens. Our office presented our basis of valuation. The petitioner provide information why they disagree with the valuation. the magistrate asks questions, they make a determination, they make a ruling. It's only a recommendation.
Okay.
Then all of that ruling then go before the value adjustment board,
Okay.
who again tell people, look, you can come. Some people don't bother to come. Once they go before magistrate, you just figure my faith is not. No, it's not. Because the magistrate hold a recommendation. The VAB is the final determinant of that. So by any means, even if they rule against you on the magistrate level, you can still come to the VAB area and then state your case.
Yes.
But once that is being done, then we have to then do our assessment adjustment.
Okay.
Because even though we put our trim in August, we do assessment in October, it has to be adjusted. After the very last VAB judgment, we have to issue a new rule that account for any adjustments that may have been brought about based on the VAB rulings.
And that's in
Okay.
October.
Now, this will be now.
This will be
That's
right
what
now.
I'm
Oh, wow.
saying,
Okay.
because some county go up VAB almost 6-9 months. We are lucky here because we are medium size. Our VAB process goes by 3-4 months at best. So if you start this thing in August, September, October, November, December, pretty much it wrapped up. And then now, I think there was a meeting that was postponed yesterday to February 21st. After that day, that's going to be the end of VAB. And then we can then certify at the role, showing adjustment to it. So these are all processes that people need to be aware of. We need to take advantage of these processes.
Before they even go there, what I love about our office is that, people say, oh, I got an open door policy. We have that at the office to our taxpayers and citizens. Before you even need to go to VAB, you can visit us. You can ask questions. If you feel like there's something our appraisal team doesn't know about your property that may impact your value, come in and talk to us about it. We're very accessible. We don't receive this money. It doesn't come to us.
Right.
We don't really have a dog in the fight. Our job is to do accurate assessments. And so we want to talk about it. We want to make sure you are comfortable with the value that's been assessed.
I think that that's really important for you to say is that, look, we don't get this money. We're not getting bonuses for overcharging you for taxes, right? We're not getting, we want to get it right. We're more concerned about getting it right.
And I love that Dr. Akinyemi passed out this dollar bill. It basically breaks down, the county's budget, how much of that comes from property taxes. In my heart, I own a home here. I just bought my first home in 2019. And I really do think of these as good taxes. I also just filed my IRS taxes the other day. I am not smart enough to really tell you where that money went. I know I had to make a payment to the IRS. I'm not quite sure what they're doing with it or where it's going. But when I get my property tax bill, I know where that's going.
Right.
That is funding all the services that, as someone who lives in Leon County, I want nice parks. I want to know that there's safety and security in our neighborhoods, on our streets. I want to have all those wonderful things that we like to see when we leave our homes and go out in the community. And so these taxes go straight into that. So it's important for all of us to have pride and understand how the process works and to know that, it can be a burden and yes, it's no fun and we'd probably rather spend our money on something else, but to understand that those property tax dollars are truly going to the things that make Leon County and Tallahassee a great place to live.
I think that's a really important point because, Megan, to your specialty in terms of making sure that people understand the benefits of exemption, we are in a market that's appreciating. We are in a market where areas have gone up in value. I'm living Southside, Southside till I die. But I have watched neighborhoods in Southside go up 400% and 500% in terms of value, right? And that's over time, right? But that is reflected in the taxes that are assessed or the value that's assessed that the taxes come from. And people don't really understand that money goes into that almost $350 million generated from that revenue base. That's solely from property taxes. That does get reinvested back into maintenance and investment in the community to make sure that we maintain a high level of community so that market value can continue to grow. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? Talk to us about how exemptions play a role in making sure, because ownership has a value in and of itself. And when people are at a disadvantage where they might be a little bit vulnerable. We see, paces of pay rate that's not keeping pace with inflation. So exemptions play a role in helping homeowners not just get a benefit, but maintain their ownership of their property, quite frankly.
Yes, and you mentioned affordability.
Yes.
Earlier. And so property tax exemptions are a way for us to assist. If you meet the criteria, we can apply that benefit for you and make it more affordable for you to stay in your home. And I know we've talked about homestead and there's other exemptions we administer, with March 1 being the deadline and then January 1 being the determination date. And I wanted to touch on that. So if you own your home and you occupy your home as of January 1, let's say January 1, 2024, you're eligible to file for homestead exemption. You're also eligible to file for other exemptions.
Yes.
If you qualify, and we can walk you through that. A huge part of our job is education, right? Because this isn't something people sit around and think about every day necessarily.
Right.
What are the criteria? What forms are needed? We walk people through that process every day, whatever the need is. And so just encouraging people to reach out to get the information and to do it before March 1 is critical.
That's right. And I think that I had a great thought that I hope I didn't lose. Dang, I think I lost it.
One thing I could share, I was talking this morning with our chief deputy of appraisal. He's the guy who's running these numbers and really has that knowledge. You're talking about the valuations are up.
Yes,
see
they are.
values are up. What we've seen over this past year or two is, the number of sales have gone down.
Right.
So there aren't as many transactions that are going on in the market. But we also know that people are flocking to Florida in record numbers. We've got a great quality of life here. We don't have a state income tax. So Florida is a very popular place to live.
Right.
So while the number of transactions have gone down a bit as far as how many homes are selling each year, the values are still increasing.
That's right.
Because demand is up. So we know when you have high demand, that increases value. And so that's kind of what we've been seeing. And I can't predict. I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon. But at least now we know folks are still coming in by the thousands all the time. So while that demand exists, we will probably see those values continue to increase, which is why these exemptions are so important to help insulate property owners from those increases.
That's right. And that brings me back to my thought I lost. Live Local
Yes.
went live last year.
Yes.
And had a number of exemptions, not just for homeowners, but it actually had some exemption for investors, which was crazy, right? Where there was certifying rent rolls, that if a certain percentage were rented to people at or below 60% area median income, they're written below 80. If there are different steep levels in terms of homes, in terms of exemption. I want to say homestead. I want to mix up the juices here. But there's some savings being passed along even under that big policy to investors. Can you speak to that? And what is the role of the property appraiser?
We'll start, and I'm going to lean on Megan to
Okay.
on this. Because of housing has been such in demand,
Yes.
and especially affordable housing to people within the 80% to 100% of the median income group.
Okay.
People are not building home in our ring anymore. People are building home for the upper people. So there's been pressure on the state. So yes, last year the governor led the effort for the Live Local, I believe it's SB 330, correct me, Live Local Act. And the effort, like you said, is actually focused more on rental as opposed to ownership. I mean, that's a different part of it. But the biggest thing is giving developer incentives,
Right.
a benefit to be able to build a lot of affordable rental property. This year, the Senate President is also supplementing that to do some. I think one is SB 268, but they're trying to clarify some of the things that's not very clear in the one last year. So we're following all these processes, and we're going to help once they have been passed or clarified. Also, of course, the Florida Housing Finance Agency is an important part. They're also in this process.
Right.
Megan worked closely with that agency, so I'm going to let you hopefully expand on that moving forward.
Sure. So part of the Live Local Act created this kind of middle market certification, right? And that is where the Florida Housing Finance Corporation comes in. They're going to be responsible, and they've already started this process for certifying certain properties or entities for this middle market certification. Now, that's one piece of the equation, but what they do or will potentially be able to do is take that certification, bring it to our office along with an application for affordable housing. And then we will go through the process of determining with all the criteria involved, whether they qualify for some level of affordable housing exemption. And that's just one way to accomplish that. We now have kind of these different buckets of affordable housing. It's not one set of criteria for all. It's, well, what bucket do you fit in?
That's right.
And then if you're in, said bucket, okay, well, then we'll talk through that and we'll figure out what we need to do to get you qualified.
And that affordable housing, thank you for that clarification. The affordable housing exemption is for usually your multifamily housing developers. How many units do you have to qualify for that exemption at this point?
It depends on the exemption. I mean, there's some criteria that will specify 70 units or more must be serving, right? But then we have, let's say, like a single family residence affordable housing property, like a habitat property. That's a totally different bucket of affordable housing exemption with its own criteria, approving charitable work right behind it. That's different from our larger multifamily affordable housing complex.
Right.
So there's really, a variety within that space. Affordable housing has been around for a while in statute as an exemption. It's now expanding.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And want to be very clear that this exemption is for owners that are usually investors or usually developers, and it's an incentive for them to maintain levels of affordability within their housing communities or within their housing portfolios, which may be scattered site. However, they're bringing that portfolio to you all to Florida Housing for evaluation, and then delivering to you all what that looks like, and then you base your assessment of what their exemption value would be as a part of your office.
Right, and they may have, if you're talking about a larger complex multifamily, they might have some market rent units.
Right.
Not all of the units within the complex are affordable housing.
That's right.
Right, or meet those thresholds or those categories of income that we need to see. So you might have this kind of split use in a way where a portion qualifies for exemption and a portion doesn't.
That's right.
And that's okay. But ultimately, they're eligible for something because they've taken the steps to provide that level of housing for the community.
I think that is so out of the box, right? Because I think the end goal and the reality is that as an investor, as a real estate person that accumulates real estate for investment, the taxes that you pay are going to be passed on to the renter, right?
Yes.
And we know that average rents here for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom unit can be anywhere from $1,400 to $1,700 a month, and even more expensive based upon community. But that's just in a median, setting. It's heavy, and you find yourself in this space of having to be an agency that's administering benefit to bring resolve to the weight of this issue.
I think we hear that all the time. We hear the burdens, the struggles,
Yes.
and I think that's why it's so much more important for us to be so accessible. It really is, as we talked about through this whole hour. It's all about being accessible. It's about being available to answer questions. If a homeowner in our community is eligible for savings, we want to help them get that. And that's really what February for us is all about. We make it easy. You can visit our website at leonpa.gov to learn more about exemptions. You can also stop into our office. We're at 315 South Calhoun Street. We're located right behind the county courthouse. We don't require an appointment. You don't need to call ahead. And we're making it even easier in February. If you can't get there between 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, Megan and her team are on site on Saturdays from 10 to noon. Swing by and talk to them. And last but not least, as I mentioned, we've got a full list over 20 events throughout Leon County. We're at Senior Lunch and Learns hosted by the county. We're at the Smith Williams Center participating in that senior program. We're at the Veterans Legal Collaboratives, which take place every Thursday at the American Legion. We are we'll also be at Harambe Festival.
Yep.
Hope to see you there on the 24th. We'll be in Cascade celebrating. So, we really try to make it easy. The one thing we can do is make sure we're accessible, we're available, and that we're helping people understand the services and resources that are available to them.
Well, listen, this I want to give make sure that I'm giving really good context. If you're listening, we have really done a tour de force. This is our second annual meeting with the Leon County Property Appraiser's Office on the community show, but I think it's probably one of the most important conversations that we can have. Lots of tax burden, lots of folks who don't understand how our local system works. Exemption, particularly if someone lives in a property. Real quick question. If somebody lives somewhere that was exempt, the person who is on the title passes away and they maintain homestead there, but the property is not probated. Does the homestead exemption pass on to them?
So that this does come up.
Mm-hmm.
And what we see sometimes in particular is where you have, let's say, a son or a daughter who's been living in the home, possibly
Right.
with their elderly parent, but the parent is the one on title, the parent is the one with homestead, and they pass. That title, depending on how it's set up originally, does not automatically pass to the child.
Say that again.
The title does not necessarily automatically pass to the child upon the parent's death.
Thank you for restating that. I don't. Okay, continue.
And so then what happens is you end up potentially having to go through a probate process. In the meantime, under Florida law, we're responsible for removing those exemptions and addressing them appropriately. And then if the child does acquire ownership, they may be eligible to file for exemption, but it's going to be based on the new reset valuation in the current day, because that Save Our Homes cap.
That's right. That's right.
Which means that even with homestead, they can realize a significant tax increase potentially, and they need to be prepared for that. And so that's part of the education we do too. When we're in that conversation with someone in a scenario like that,
Yes.
we go through as much as we can. We educate as much as we can about, at this point, here's what might happen. At this point, here's what might happen. The potential outcome, because they need to know.
That's right. That's right.
It can be tough too. No one wants to talk or think about
Right.
their loved ones,
Right.
But you can really set yourself up for better circumstances
Yes.
if you're willing to have that conversation while your aging parents are around and you're able to make those changes,
Yes.
those adjustments. In the end, it really does help, as uncomfortable as it is.
And we know, look, I'm not an attorney. I don't even play one on TV, but there's an easy fix for this, right? There's an easy fix for a title issue. And if that fix is applied per se, if somebody's added to title prior to the deceased parent, then not only does that property pass on correctly, that Save Our Homes remains intact.
What we always caution people or tell people is work with a real estate attorney, work with somebody who has the experience and knows your intent. Because your intent is one thing, but to write that out so that your intent is communicated all the way through, that's another thing. And you really want that to be on point to realize the outcome that you want and need.
That's right.
And so it's super important to have an expert in that process.
So shout out to all the folks that are dealing with air property and that are having these conversations. This is relevant. You find yourselves in all the stuff, right? And so definitely, look, we can talk about this for 2 hours, but they got to go back to work. So listen, real quick, March 1st is
March
Should
1st
I
is
start?
the deadline, the website, we've got all of those remote filing locations that
Yes.
are going on throughout Tallahassee are listed there. You can visit us downtown. And of course, call us 850-606-6200. A live person will assist
live
you
person.
and direct you to the right person. We really need these. And we're lucky to have someone like Dr. Akinyemi who advocates for property owners and taxpayers.
Absolutely. And Dr. Akinyemi giving you the last word. What do you think that homeowners, taxpayers here, what do we need to be mindful of? What do we need to look out for in terms of our responsibility to the process here as we move forward in the season?
First and foremost, thank you for having us. We're very pleased to be with you again today. people just need to be engaging. People need to pay attention to the little details, like the trim notice. When you see information, don't just put it aside. Take a look at it. When you get a postcard in the mail asking you, do you still have your exemptions? And all those little things happen. But at the end of the day, even if all hell fails, even if you miss a deadline, don't ignore it and not let it go. So we still call up if it's a March 2nd or 3rd, and you realize all of a sudden I have not filed. If you give us a good reason,
Yes.
we're human beings, we're considerate. So the key is to just pay attention and be engaging. Absolutely, absolutely take opportunity before March 1st. Calm down. Or even better, go online.
Yes.
Most of our things are so easy, you could just do it online. If you have questions while you're doing it, call us, we can walk you right through it. But absolutely take advantage of these exemptions because we all can use a little money. We used to give a number and we don't give anymore because it varies. But we're talking about $800, $850, $900 average in savings per year. That's a lot of groceries.
That's a lot of groceries.
You know, so
Yes.
definitely it's important to get this service. We want to help you to get it. March 1st, if you own your home and you occupy it from January 1st of any year, you can get the exemption for that year. So currently, in this case, we're doing 2024. Even if you forgot, you didn't get it for 23. That's not to say you shouldn't try to get it. We have to look at it critically. We have to look at the circumstances. Why? And we know people that they haven't gotten it and been asked for 4 years.
Yeah.
You got to start someplace.
Yes.
So we're here to help. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. We are going to be around the community. You're going to see us over and over and over.
20 times in February, people. 20 times. Listen, we thank y'all so much for tuning in. This has been just always a worthwhile, powerful conversation. You are tuned in to the Greg James Community Show at the highest hallelujah 95.3 FM. We are so glad to have you to join us, all of our listeners online, as well as our listeners on the stream. We look forward to seeing you on next Tuesday, where we will have Conscious Check with yours truly, Christy Henry, and we'll be talking economics and Black history. So please tune in. It's going to be an excellent conversation. And thank you all for joining us, and be blessed.
Wow, it was absolutely amazing, family.
It was awesome.
It was amazing, and certainly you definitely want to make sure that you are informed and engaged. And certainly we want to thank our fundraiser and want to thank his team for being with us today. And Christy, there are some questions.
Okay. Yeah.
So you
Oh,
got-
so while we have some time, let's go ahead and let's get a couple
It
of.
looks like Ms. Pittman has done
Yes,
a good job. Taking notes.
Yeah, I think one of the things she was asking about was, I guess, what created the increase.
What's called the increase in taxes?
Yeah, market.
The market.
Market.
Generally the market, but sometimes, you know, a change in ownership can cause an increase. So like she said earlier, if somebody passes away and a loved one gets to inherit the property, they don't inherit the exemption. That's really important for people to understand. You don't inherit the savings unless you're on that deed of transfer. So if they pass away, the property goes to you. Now, I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV. Shout out to Jamie Coleman and all the people that do this on the. But you really need to set yourself up in the final planning and those processes so that you can have those savings transferred to the next generation and leave a legacy. But absolutely that, and the market is crazy. So definitely, please look at those notices when they're sent in August. Please engage with the Value Adjustment Board all the way up through the end of the year. And please make sure that y'all get down there. If you don't have your tax exemptions, any of them, get them now. If you're a senior, if you're in the military and you serve, you don't get it if you walk on 1 foot yet, but there could be coming. And thanks to our King Akinyemi, who has worked with our legislature to extend the benefit, not just to veterans, but to their spouses and widows. That's tremendous. That's tremendous. That is tremendous. That's what you call advocacy in office. And so we really appreciate that. Do we have any quick other questions that are on there?
I think that was the last one.
Okay.
Thanks. Good questions.
And Andy told y'all 20 times. 20 times. make sure we send. They got 20 events that they're gonna be at this month to get to reach people.
My how you doing? What in the church?
Oh,
Not for me.
y'all have